blind date was empty in a way that felt louder than noise, the kind of emptiness that presses against the chest and makes a person question every decision that led them there. And just as the weight of being stood up settled into a familiar ache, the cafe door opened and two little twin girls stepped inside, carrying an apology too big for their small hands, explaining that their daddy was sorry he was late. And in that fragile moment, the night cracked open into something none of them could have predicted. Before the story unfolds any further, take a second and listen to your own heart. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet miracles that happen when people least expect them, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel's Story Vibe, so more stories like this can reach those who are waiting for light. She had chosen the cafe because it felt safe. Warm lights, old wood tables, soft music humming like a memory. It was the kind of place where time slowed just enough for thoughts to catch up with you. She arrived 10 minutes early, smoothed her coat, checked her reflection in the darkened screen of her phone, and told herself that this time would be different. Blind dates had become a quiet ritual of disappointment over the last 2 years. Ever since life had taken a sharp turn she never saw coming. She had learned how to sit alone without looking lonely, how to sip coffee slowly while pretending she was waiting by choice. Still, hope had a stubborn way of showing up, even when experience warned against it. She waited. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The chair across from her remained empty, its polished surface reflecting the overhead light like an unblinking eye. The server came by once, then again, offering polite smiles that slowly shifted into sympathy. She nodded, ordered water she did not drink, and told herself she would leave in 5 more minutes. The familiar story played in her mind. Another apology message would come later, or maybe nothing at all. Another reminder that building something new felt impossible when the past still clung so tightly. Her past was not dramatic in the way movies like to portray heartbreak. There were no explosive arguments or sudden betrayals. It had been quieter, more painful than that. A long marriage that slowly emptied out, words replaced by silence, affection replaced by routine. When it ended, it felt less like a break and more like a slow fading, as if a light had been turned down over years until she realized she was standing in the dark. Dating again had felt like learning a new language with an old accent, every sentence heavy with caution. Just as she reached for her coat, ready to accept that this night would join the others, the bell above the cafe door chimed. Cold air rushed in, followed by the soft shuffle of small shoes. 2 little girls stood just inside, identical down to their knitted hats and wide, uncertain eyes. They scanned the room like explorers who had lost their map. People glanced up, smiled, then went back to their conversations. The girls held hands tightly, their fingers intertwined as if they were bracing against a storm only they could feel. They walked toward her table, not with confidence but with determination, stopping just short of the empty chair across from her. One of them looked up, then the other, as if silently agreeing that this was the right place. Their faces carried a seriousness that did not belong to children their age. They explained, in careful words shaped by practice, that their daddy was sorry he was late, that traffic had been bad, that he had sent them ahead because he did not want to keep her waiting any longer. Time did something strange in that moment. The noise of the cafe faded, replaced by the sound of her own heartbeat. Confusion rose first, then something softer, something warmer. She looked at the empty chair again, suddenly seeing it differently. This was not the emptiness of rejection. This was the pause before something arrived. She invited the girls to sit, more out of instinct than thought. They climbed onto the chair together, feet dangling, eyes bright with relief. They talked about the cafe, about the pastries in the glass case, about how grown-up tables were much taller than they expected. Their presence filled the space with a gentle energy, the kind that made strangers smile and lean in without realizing why. As minutes passed, she felt herself relaxing in a way she had not on any date before. There was no pressure to impress, no performance to maintain, just the simple act of being present. The girls spoke about their school, their favorite colors, and their dad, who they described with a mix of pride and concern. He worked a lot. He tried very hard. Sometimes he forgot things, but he always made up for it. Their words painted a picture of a man stretched thin by responsibility, someone doing his best while carrying more than most. When the man finally arrived, breathless and apologetic in every movement, The first thing she noticed was not his appearance but his eyes. They held the same seriousness she had seen in the girls, layered with exhaustion and hope. He explained everything in a rush. How childcare had fallen through, how he had debated cancelling altogether, how the girls had insisted on coming because they did not want him to be alone. He expected irritation, maybe even anger. What he found instead was a woman smiling through unexpected tears. The date did not unfold like any she had known. It was messy and imperfect and interrupted by questions about dessert and bathroom breaks. Yet within that chaos, something real began to take shape. They talked about life, not in polished anecdotes but in fragments and admissions. He spoke about losing his wife years earlier, about raising twins while juggling work, about the loneliness that crept in after bedtime stories were finished and the house went quiet. She shared her own story. The long fade of a marriage, the fear of starting over, the way solitude could feel both peaceful and punishing. The girls listened, sometimes understanding, sometimes not, but always present. They leaned against their father, grounding him. She realized then that this was not a man arriving late to a date. This was a man arriving late to himself, slowly finding his way back through the love of two small people. When the evening ended, there were no grand promises or sweeping declarations, just a shared understanding that something meaningful had happened. They parted with a sense of gentle possibility, the kind that does not shout but lingers. Days turned into weeks. Messages were exchanged. Coffee became dinners, dinners became afternoons at the park. She learned how to braid hair and pack lunches. He learned how to sit still again, how to let someone else help carry the weight. The girls learned that the world could grow instead of shrink, that love did not have to disappear just because it changed shape. There were challenges, of course, balancing schedules, navigating fears, confronting old wounds that resurfaced at unexpected times. She struggled with the idea of stepping into a family when she had spent so long, rebuilding herself alone. He struggled with guilt, wondering if moving forward meant leaving the past behind. But every time doubt threatened to take hold, there was laughter, or a quiet moment of understanding, or the simple comfort of being together without needing to explain. One evening, months later, she found herself back at the same café. The table was the same, the lights were the same, but everything else felt different. The empty chair was no longer a symbol of waiting. It was a reminder of how quickly life could change when you stayed open to it. If this story is touching something deep inside you, if it reminds you of a moment when kindness changed the course of your life or when hope showed up in an unexpected form, please pause for a moment near the end of this video to like, share and subscribe to Story Vibe. Your support helps keep these stories alive for others who need them. And before the final moments unfold, there is a special request just for you. Please comment below and share what this story made you feel, or tell us about a time when something unexpected brought light into your life. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read. In the end, she understood that the blind date had never really been empty. It had simply been waiting to be filled in a way she could not have planned. Love did not arrive polished and on time. It arrived late, carrying 2 small hands and 1,000 unspoken apologies, teaching her that the most beautiful stories often begin where expectations fall apart.